I'm Mike DePalma, Vice President of Business Development at Datto. So Datto has a wide array of products in the security side of things, remote monitoring, but the core product is business continuity. And really what it does is it takes a different look at backup. Whereas traditional backup tends to be file and folder level based, layered upon previous backups. What business continuity does, and Datto specifically, is we take a full image of that server or of that critical workstation. So yes, we're capturing all of the files and folders, but also the operating system, the applications that live on that server. And what this gives you the ability to do is a couple of different things. One is you set up what's called an inverse chain. This is something that was proprietary to Datto. And what this means is every one of those backup points are independent of one another. So let's say you're hit with ransomware at 11 o'clock. You know you could take that time machine and there is no risk of that 10 o'clock backup being infected. And this is one of the first things that these criminals do is they will try to get their hands onto that backup so they can crypt that as well, so that when you go to restore, you've got no valid data to go do that with. Now, one of the other things it allows you to do is actually detect ransomware as it occurs. And the way it does this is not through looking for specific variants, because there's new ones popping up every day, but instead looking at the footprint that all of these ransomware attacks leave. As the backups are going along, the data changes all look relatively similar, and then ransomware occurs and you see every single file and folder change, it's going to trigger an immediate red flag. And it's going to say, hey, not only do we think there's a ransomware attack that occurred between this window, but here's your last clean backup. But ultimately, what business continuity really does is to ensure that your business and your office is up and running regardless of what's happening. So instead of your first reaction when an attack occurs to say, okay, I have to lock down this machine and start that restoration process, your first reaction is to say, I need to get my entire business back up and running. I need to get everyone in my office and in my practice the ability to have access to everything that they need. And we do that called virtualization. So essentially everything that lived on that server that's now been impacted would just fail over to that on-premise Datto device, giving everyone who had access to that server access to the same tools and programs that they would have had. Now we also have 2 US-based data centers, one in Pennsylvania and one in Utah. So if for whatever reason that on-premise device is compromised, and this could be a natural disaster, a fire, a flood, or simply a hardware failure, you have the same ability to do that in either one of those data centers. At any given time, we've got thousands of businesses operating and living out of our data centers. And all of these backups are being tested regularly. You will get an alert if there's any sort of failure. And the virtualization capabilities are tested every single night as well. That server is brought up to a boot screen, a snapshot is taken, and you could see the timestamp to say that all these cool virtualization capabilities, they're going to be available to you as well. So this is good not only for peace of mind, but also for any sort of compliance issues you might be going through. If you're going for cyber insurance, all of this documentation is great. So please go have a conversation with the folks over at Sunset Technologies. They're one of our trusted partners, especially in the dental space. They'll be able to give you a lot more detail and really understand a little bit about your network to make sure that not only are you protected, but you have the ability to stay up and running.